2025 Hyundai Ioniq 6 review, an EV for those who'd still like a sedan. Not a Tesla. 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 6 Limited. View 31 photos. The Ioniq 6 is the best of the non-performance E-GMP vehicles to drive, and its aerodynamic shape makes it super efficient with a long range. Give up utility versus the Ioniq 5. But the benefits will be worth it for some. Industry. Pros. Fun, efficient driving, standout design, quick charging and ample range, big back seat legroom, well-executed safety tech. Cons. Too cheap interior materials, especially in SE, some irritating controls, small trunk, max range tied to base trim, no federal tax credit. Those interested in buying an electric car, you're bound to find that there really aren't that many that are literally cars. Most EVs, especially in the more affordable end of the spectrum, are more of the crossover SUV variety. While the Tesla Model 3 is by far the best-selling electric sedan, there is an alternative, the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 6. This four-door car that looks like it materialized in your driveway from the future features a bold design that's not only eye-catching, but indicative of how extremely aerodynamic it is. It translates to maximum ranges that greatly exceed that of its mechanically related SUV siblings, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6. Now, it should be said those ranges do differ widely depending on which battery, motor combination and trim level you choose. Fortunately, the 361-mile max range is only available with the base SE trim level in its downmarket cabin. Other trim levels still have above average range, though, and all benefit from rapid public charging speeds. We've also found the Ioniq 6 to be surprising fun to drive, regardless of whether it's a single motor, rear drive model or a dual motor. All-wheel drive one. It's also comfortable and quiet on the highway. And its interior features more conventional controls and displays than the Model 3, including an available head-up display for 2025. As much as we enjoy the Ioniq 6, though, its hang-ups are not insignificant. Interior quality is one, some frustrating controls are another. The trunk is also small for a sedan. Admittedly, all those issues also exist in the Model 3. However, that has access to Tesla's unmatched supercharger network, along with lower prices, at least at the time of this writing, stronger acceleration and better range with all-wheel drive. Both are excellent choices, though, to prove that you can happily get an electric vehicle that isn't an SUV. Interior and technology, passenger and cargo space, performance and fuel economy, what it's like to drive, pricing and trim levels, crash ratings and safety features. What's new for 2025? Here at Autoblog, we love cars painted green. So it pains us to announce that the Ioniq 6 a digital green option is no longer available for 2025. So much for those pics we took of it last year. On the upside, a head-up display is now available and is exclusive to the limited trim level. What are the Ioniq 6 interior and in-car technology like? The Ioniq 6 interior looks at first less bold than the streamlined exterior, but look closer, and it reveals itself to be one of the most creative cabins on the market. Certainly reminiscent of the Ioniq 5, there are all kinds of unique details, such as the ripples on the doors that reflect the multicolor ambient light. Those doors are also distinctive in that they're bereft of window and locking buttons. Those are on the center console, which admittedly takes some getting used to, unless you've owned a Jeep Wrangler or old BMW. Materials quality also doesn't look or feel as good as what you'd find in a Hyundai Sonata, for instance. For other midsize sedans, this is particularly evident in the base SE, pictured above in black, which is the only trim level available with the 361-mile range estimate. Its mandatory cloth trim looks and feels cheap. while the hard plastic phone bin will be a constant reminder that you didn't opt for a high trim as your phone slides around without the benefit of wireless charging. You can read more about the Ioniq 6 SE interior here, but in general, we wish there were a way to get the max range with even a slightly nicer and better equipped interior. In terms of functionality, the Ioniq 6 mostly succeeds. The dual 12.3-inch screens are bright, clear and responsive, while the infotainment interface is one of the easiest in the industry to use. Supporting touch-sensitive climate controls are less so, and we dislike the need to call up a touchscreen menu to engage the heated and ventilated seats or heated steering wheel. We also miss the radio shortcut button found in most other Hyundai and Kia vehicles. Again, you have to press one button, Media, to bring up a touchscreen submenu. On the other hand, the fact that the Ioniq 6 has physical controls at all, plus instruments in front of the driver, stands in sharp contrast to its MA. Rival, the Tesla Model 3 and its one screen does everything interior. How big is the Ioniq 6? Like the other cars on Hyundai's E-GMP platform, the Ioniq 6 is deceptively large. Short overhangs and unusual proportions make it seem like a small vehicle, but it's only a couple inches shorter than the Hyundai Sonata family sedan. Long wheelbase allows the interior to be particularly large, especially in regard to legroom. Surprisingly, the hunkered-down shape of the Ioniq 6 doesn't overtly compromise visibility. It's quite good, actually. While headroom up front remains decent despite a seating position that's perhaps a smidge high. The seats are wide but a bit flat, and loads of adjustment makes it easy to find a comfortable seating position. Rear headroom is a little tight due to that distinct shape created for the sake of aerodynamic efficiency, but again, the legroom is vast. 6-footers will have no problem sitting back to back, and you'll have no problem with kids' shoes kicking the passenger seat up front. Trunk space, on the other hand, is poor. Its volume of 11.2 cubic feet would be small for a compact sedan, let alone a midsize one. Not surprisingly, the Ioniq 6 was unable to swallow all the bags of our standardized luggage test. In contrast, the Sonata's 16.3 cubic foot trunk had space left over for multiple bags. There is a substantial underfloor storage area, however, plus a front compartment perfectly sized to store the tire mobility kit and charge cord. What are the Ioniq 6 fuel economy and performance specs? The Ioniq 6 has 3 powertrain options, 2 of which are single-motor, rear-drive setups, and the third with 2 motors and therefore all-wheel drive. First single-motor arrangement is exclusive to the SE standard range. Makes just 149 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It also gets the smallest battery capacity, 53 kilowatt-hours, resulting in an estimated range of 240 miles. It's actually not bad given the battery size and the ranges of other EVs. Credit for that can go to being quite efficient, coming in as the second most frugal Ioniq 6 behind the long range. Rear drive SE. It's estimated by the EPA to return 135 miles per gallon equivalent combined. Moving up to the other trim levels, the standard powertrain is the long-range, rear-drive option. It has a 77.4 kWh battery with higher output that allows for more horsepower from the rear motor, 225 horsepower. Torque remains the same at 258 pound-feet. That bigger battery offers better range, but the amount varies depending on the trim level. The SE has the best range at 361 miles, which is due to it being more efficient than the SEL and limited on account of their larger wheels. The SE with rear drive returns 140 mpge combined. The SEL and Limited return 117 mpge and have a range of 305 miles. Optionally available is the dual-motor, all-wheel drive powertrain. With the addition of a front motor, power rises to 320 horses and torque to 446 pound-feet. Efficiency drops with the SE getting 121 mpge combined. Its range is 316 miles. The SEL and Limited get 103 mpge combined with a range of 270 miles. Finally, let's talk charging speed. The Ioniq 6's advanced 800-volt architecture allows it to swallow down electrons quicker than most other EVs. This greatly depends on the amount of kilowatts available at a fast charge station. All things being equal, we'd definitely rather have the faster charging car available. Ioniq 6 also charges very quickly at home, with 11 kW max speeds possible with an appropriate home charger. What's the Ioniq 6 like to drive? Interestingly, the Hyundai Ioniq 6 is the sportiest base version of the E-GMP cars. Suspension is tuned stiffer, lending a much more responsive chassis with less body roll. Steering feels quicker and more accurate than its siblings, too. Selecting the heftier, sport, steering mode really isn't necessary. The stiffer suspension does yield a correspondingly stiff, ride than its crossover-ish cousins. That doesn't mean it's uncomfortable, though. Even on bigger wheels, we found it happily soaked up bumps and was an absolute highway champ during a road trip between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Acceleration is a big factor. We have yet to test the standard range version, but given its meager 149 horses, we figure it'll feel awfully slow even if it provides the usual initial electric kick off the line. 225 horsepower extended range rear drive version certainly doesn't provide the oomph of the 320 HP dual motor Ioniq 6, but it also doesn't feel slow. Unless you need the all-weather traction that all-wheel drive allows, we would stick with the extra range and lower price tag of the rear motor extended range combo. Also worth noting is that the Ioniq 6 has full one-pedal driving available. Regenerative braking force can be adjusted via the steering wheel paddles and at maximum can bring the car to a full stop. It's easily controllable, and the brake pedal feel and position remains consistent. What other Hyundai Ioniq 6 reviews can I read? 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6 First Drive Review. Slippery sedan adds big range. First drive review, including more in-depth information about its design and engineering. Hyundai Ioniq 6 SE interior review, taking a deep dive into the base trim level's interior, and therefore the only version that can achieve 361 miles of range. Hyundai Ioniq 6 luggage test, taking a close look at just how much you can fit in the Ioniq 6 trunk. Which is small for a mid-size sedan. What is the 2025 Ioniq 6 price? Pricing for 2025 was not available at the time of this writing. Would expect a few hundred added to the below 2024 prices, all of which include the $1,115 destination charge. CRWD standard range, $38,650. CRWD, $43,565. CLRWD, $46,365. Limited RWD, $51,265. SCAWD, $47,065. SELAWD, $49,865. Limited AWD, $54,765. What are the Ioniq 6 safety ratings and driver assistance features? Every 2025 Ioniq 6 includes forward collision warning and automatic emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, lane keeping assist, blind spot and rear cross traffic warning systems, safe exit warning, stops you from opening doors into cars or cyclists, driver inattention warning and adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go capability and lane centering steering assist. The latter is known as highway drive assist. The SEL and limited trims get highway drive assist too, which adds partially automated lane changes, activate turn signal, car does the rest, and adapts itself to match your acceleration style. Those trims also add more proactive steering assistance for the forward collision and blind spot warning systems. Finally, the limited gains reverse automated braking, a surround view parking camera system, remote smart parking using the vehicle remote, and a camera-based blind spot monitor. Besides the sheer volume of these systems, it's important to note that they are among the best executed in the automotive industry. The NHTSA gave the Ioniq 6.4 out of 5 stars for frontal crash protection and 5 stars for side protection.